Hi everyone, welcome to On the Other Hand. I'm Ariane Zurcher, and in this video I am bringing you into my studio with me as I push through resistance. So this video is all about this new spherical sculpture that I'm working on, which is new for me. It's a new shape. It's different, and inevitably what happens when I'm trying something that I've never done before, I get hit with a moment of resistance or many moments of resistance. That part of you that starts to question, is this going to work? What's next? Wanting to know how it ends up looking before I've even gone through it. And of course, as in life, we can't know the end until we go through it. We can't possibly know what the future holds. So I'm going to turn you around and we'll get started. I've put a few things on and I quite like it. Obviously, this is just a very, very beginning. Remember this piece that I demonstrated layering? If you didn't see that video, I'll put it in the upper right corner. But I am going to add this here. Here I go with this. What I've been using is this gel plate monoprint that I did, and I'm cutting it up and kind of putting it in different places. So I'm sort of pushing it in here, and then I'm stitching it down with threads that kind of go with the paint, so they're sort of in keeping. I wanted to show you what I'm doing. So I cut this piece out. I put some thruster in here. I'm going to put a tiny bit more here. This little bald patch there. And put some more here. And now I've got this color here. And then this goes all the way up. Now, here are my little loops, and that's not going to work. So I'm cutting them out. This is where you just have to be brutal. You can't get sentimental about stuff like this. If it adds to the design and it's going to work, great. If it's hindering, out it goes. And just now that's going to lie much flatter. And I'm going to do a little green here, I think. I've got some green thruster. So I can put a little bit here. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and stitch the rest of this down. I'm attaching this to my little triangle here of chicken wire. What I love about this is that the gel plate monoprint, it started as a way to just do something while I wasn't sure what I was doing next in between projects. And so I started creating these monoprints that I knew I was going to back with the fusible. And now it's part of something much bigger. So these sort of small moments of creativity become part of something much larger, which is cool. And very much like life. We don't see how these little moments will come together, but then in retrospect, often we'll see these little seemingly insignificant moments and how they tie into a bigger picture. Perhaps a bigger picture of courage or resilience or perseverance or determination. And then that helps us the next time we're confronted with something that feels overwhelming, we get to remember, oh, I lived through that already. So one of the things I thought of as I was doing this, because there's a lot going on here, is this whole layering and everything was less about composition and more about color. But as I work with this sphere, this sculpture, I do think about composition and I do think about color. As far as composition goes, I want there to be spaces that are less busy and then spaces that have a lot going on. But I don't want the whole thing to just be, I don't want it to overwhelm. I want there to be moments of calm. Sculpture's a bit different when you're thinking of composition than a flat piece, because it's a little more forgiving, because you're not seeing everything all at once the way you do a flat piece. So it is a bit different. It has different challenges. Some days it's about trusting that what you've already made has value, even if you don't see it right away. So when I was making this layered, thing of stitching, I was doing it for a video on, how to create layers using different materials. And I was showing some of my go-to materials, which this, is a lot of. I wasn't thinking about, I'm going to use this later in a sculpture. I mean, I had an idea that I hoped I would use it, but I didn't have anything in mind. So, to now be able to use it is kind of fun and exciting, and it reminds me of what I was doing when I started doing these layers. And then the monoprints, they've got this like texture now with the stitching, and they've got a history to them, and they remind me that every layer we add, whether in art or in our lives, builds something richer. When this sphere began, I was thinking it would be different. I thought I had this idea that it was going to, who knows? I mean, I'm just starting this, so maybe it still will be. But I guess the point really is that it's okay to change directions, to have an idea and then start doing things and realize that maybe that's not the best way to use the material, or to start doing something different, or just not have any plan and not know and just let everything unfold more organically than having, I don't usually have much of a plan. I often will have some ideas though, I'll have this idea of what I'm thinking, and then I let it go. I'm not going to hold on to it. But it gets me moving. I think creativity, like life, isn't about control. It's about facing things as they happen and responding in a measured way. There's this thing that the Stoics say that I just love, which is a mastery of one's emotions. That is my goal for the rest of my life, to have mastery over my emotions. Because, emotions come and go. They're constantly in flux. They're always changing. But if I listen to them, I can have ideas that aren't necessarily the most beneficial. I had this idea of using the throster to sort of cover like a spider's web, an area which would be much more transparent, So it's not completely left open, but it's sort of gives the effect of, and I kind of like that. So I'm just going to kind of leave this here tentatively, because whatever I put here can hold it down. And then if I like it, I can sort of attach it in places, I think, in here and in here as well. Creativity is how we move forward, how I move forward, how I show up as a human being in a messy life, in a messy world. And it's really important for me to show up for it even when I don't feel like it. And creativity is also how we respond to the world, but also to ourselves. And it's sort of a way of saying I'm still here, you know, I'm still creating, I'm still finding my way. Yeah, I think the art matters, we matter, and it's important for us to keep showing up for that. So tell me something that you're working on, something creative that you've done lately that reminded you of your own strength. You know, that's a big piece of this, is getting through the tough moments and realizing you can. Tell me what a moment like that is for you. So I'll end this video with just a little shout out to just keep going. Whether you're feeling stuck creatively, emotionally, or just frightened and don't know what you're doing in life, just keep going. We don't have to know everything. We don't have to know the whole thing. We just have to know what the next step is. And that's to just keep going. Keep doing the next right thing, whatever that might be. Sometimes we don't know, so we have to try a couple of different things. And then the one that feels right, the one that feels like, yeah, I'm on the right track, the one that's not a self-betrayal, that's the right action. I remember the first time someone spoke to me about the concept of self-betrayal. I didn't know what that meant. Self-betrayal comes up in tiny little microaggressions against oneself. The time you say yes, but you really didn't want to and you wanted to say no. The time that you picked up some piece of food or something that was on your plate or something that was served to you and you ate it even though you weren't hungry. The time you didn't go and do exercise because you just don't feel like it, but you knew in your heart that it was going to be a better decision if you did it, a better decision for your body, for your well-being, for your mental health. These are all microaggressions that we do to ourselves on a daily basis. It shows up in our art as well. It shows up in the way we create. It shows up in how we continue to create. It shows up in how we keep going no matter what. This piece that I'm working on is still evolving. I have no idea where it's going. But sometimes that's the best part. Tell me about something that you've pushed yourself to do anyway, even when you were filled with doubt or you weren't sure where it was going or how it would end up. How did you get through it? What did you do? And what did it end up looking like? Were you happy? Were you dissatisfied? Did you end up taking it all out, starting over? I'd love to know. I'm embracing all of you. Have a wonderfully creative day.